Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers in order to increase your profits, in order to live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week's episode, we have an interview with guest photographer Scott Proposky, and this is very different than our normal painting talk. Scott, being a photographer, I had a lot of questions about, is their marketing the same as ours? Do they send out a cold email and what do you say? Like, how do you go about marketing yourself as a photographer? And really, there are a lot of similarities. And so he's in a slightly different profession, but we're all creatives and we all want to get jobs. And he has a really interesting story being hired by National Geographic and doing stuff at the White House. And so, yeah, he's kind of a big deal. So this is a really interesting conversation and I think you'll like it. So let's get to it. All right, Scott, tell me all about you. How have you made it to be a professional photographer that teaches other photographers? And give me a little bit of backstory.
Well, I talk to so many photographers and the story's going to sound familiar. And I see the bios. And if you're listening, this might be your bio. I had a camera in my hand when I was 5 years old. And I've always had a camera. I grew up with a camera, perhaps. Well, that's my story too. But my dad was a corporate photographer for Honeywell. My uncle was a corporate photographer for AT&T. And my cousin was the vice president of Polaroid in Boston, where I live. At the time, didn't know it, but it was destined for me to be a corporate photographer around the world, just based on that. And so from there, got right into National Geographic. Almost as soon as I went looking for business and work, I was with National Geographic for a number of years, doing event photography.
Okay, so National Geographic, and then what other things have you done? I was reading on your bio that you've led teams across North America.
Yeah, I say these things as kind of a matter of fact sort of thing. It's kind of interesting because as I'm telling you these stories, it's just like, oh, well, yeah, I went over to National Geo. Then, when I was doing a photo shoot for, Sports Illustrated, I did this and blah, blah, blah. I kind of normalize it, actually. And it wasn't until 2019 when I wrote my book, Camera Focus, that I actually realized, wow, there's some great stories here that I can share with other people to help them be camera focused and how to get business. Heck, if I can do it, you can do it, right? This is my mindset. But it originally started off with National Geo, automatically getting into the top 1% of all event photographers in the country, if not the world. And then went right over to Time Inc. with Sports Illustrated, doing events for them, TV Guide, Microsoft. And eventually got myself to the White House with President Obama as an event photographer for events at the White House.
Okay. No big deal.
Just no big deal. And when you leave the White House, you meet a lot of incredible people. And I met incredible people, business people that saw hey, Scott, you need help? And so that's when I kind of grew this business from photography to a business for about 52 people around the country and 10 what I call pop-up studios doing holiday events around the country to do photography. And I created a system and a process in place so that it was repeatable. We talk about scale and systems and boring stuff, right? Well, it's the boring stuff that usually ends up paying the bills, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you teach other photographers pretty much a similar path or some kind of business path that you kind of took to get to where you can pay your bills with photography, and not just pay your bills, but you're doing some pretty fun stuff. So what do you think sets that apart? So your success and you being able to do that versus some of the photographers, and I know a lot of photographers, by the way, and some of them have amazing skill, but they just are, I don't know, they just can't take off.
Yeah, sometimes I call it analysis by paralysis. It's well, I can't do this before I do that. I need to do that before this. I need to have the website done. The website's not done. I can't do it till the website's done. And, and sometimes I kind of feel like we're the arsonists of our own fires, right? And it's sometimes you just gotta hit the send key, send the blast email, post the website, go with it. 80% done is better than nothing, right? And you don't have to go for 100%. And we're perfectionists. We want it perfect. We're proud of who we are. That's my name. That's my work. Totally get it. But we got to launch. Just launch.
Yeah. How much time do you personally spend on editing? Do you still edit your own stuff?
I don't actually. I do some photography to stay in the game, to help some of my clients that I coach to, hey, listen, when I'm talking, I'm not saying, back in the day when I did it. No, I'm talking like last Tuesday or last Thursday when I sold a corporate high-end client photography. Currently, I still have the New England Patriots. And so I do that intentionally to make sure that it still works, guys. It still works. If I can do it, you can too. But I don't. It was a number of years, maybe 2017 or 18, where, I no longer was taking photographs anymore. I was really running a business.
Yeah. So I hired out that part of it. How did you find an editor that you trusted, that you would do really well? Did you have to train them, or did you hire them and pay them a little bit more because they already knew, or what?
Yeah, that's interesting you asked that. So what we actually did is we had certain people we went to that did certain things better than others. We had one place we used, I forget names, and they would just do our headshots, corporate headshots, and just do that, right? And other people did other work, right? But in the event photography world, it's more an event. It's not so much like a portrait, a senior portrait, a wedding, where it really has to be, really dialed in, which totally get. Lightroom's great, awesome, all good. But the events sort of thing, take a photo, print it on site. Those are the quick events that necessarily don't need the photo touch. If anything, we do it on the front end where we'll do today we'll do AI photos for the backgrounds or green screen photos and really create a really interesting product.
Okay. Yeah. I have a really good photographer friend here in town. He's very good. He's done very, very similar to you, has done a lot of big jobs for big names. And I went to his thing. He had a big green screen set up, and you could literally put on whatever background you want that looked really great. And he does the professional headshots and does it really well. So you're saying you have a different editor for something like that rather than an event photography package.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the graphics comes involved, right? What I'll work with Time Inc. Sports Illustrated, and we'll actually get the assets from the graphics department from those magazines that we have rights to use because we're doing a shoot for them, right? And so we have those graphics, and we're using Photoshop to make our different layers so that we can come up with a realistic looking green screen photo printed on site, right? So when we did events for HBO and we did a tour with Games of Thrones, we made sure that when they would sit on a chair with a green cloth on it, it looked real. I mean, it looked really real. The lighting looked kind of the same way, and gave them props. It was pretty cool. It came across as a good experience.
How did you learn these tricks? Did you just experiment, or did somebody show you?
Believe it or not, as I say this out loud, I don't feel old. I'm not old. Don't misunderstand me. But about 28 years ago, I started doing this exact same thing. And 2001, I got a kind of a break in the business per se, where I got hired by Warner Brothers to work on the Harry Potter premiere, doing green screen photos and putting people in the movie for the movie premiere. And so that was really the big break. That moment. What was that moment? Where were you? What time, right? That was the moment. I can literally put a pencil to it. And that day I met Robin Williams. He was a guest at the event, got to know him and have great conversations with Robin, and just so many of the people that I met along my journey that kind of helped me get to the next step.
Okay. So they introduced you to the next job?
Yeah, absolutely. I almost could take a pencil to it, right? I was, the go-to guy, right? And same thing in your industry, in your neighborhood, wherever you are, you want to be that go-to person, right?
Yeah. Were you a go-to person for something specific, or just anything with a camera? And do you do mostly photo, right? Not video?
Yeah, it was all photos, mostly print on site, doing this green screen special effects sort of events, but mostly fast print on site programs. And here's the difference why I went down this road with it, because nobody was really doing it that much. It was very novelty. It was very unique. It kind of still is in a way, right? And there's a time where printing a photo in a minute is like, wow, that's cool. And then it got to a point where it was like, over the decades, it's like, oh, we don't want to print. We want the digital. The digital's awesome, right? Yeah. And now we're getting back into the game where you give a print delivered in a minute, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. This is great. Can I, so we're going back into it's a really, it's like they want it, right? This is really cool. I really want this printed photo. Can I have two? And I love hearing that, right? Because that means we're doing something right.
Okay. So you found this niche. So what I'm hearing is you've always been interested in this, in photography. You've had a camera, had some support around you. And then you found this kind of niche thing that everybody wanted and nobody else was doing. And then when did you decide that maybe you should pivot from that and try other stuff?
It was more or less after I left the White House.
Okay.
We were doing school photography at one point in time. We had multiple contracts. And at that time, I was trying to get to 100 contracts because I knew if I got to 100 contracts, I could sell to LifeTouch.
What does that mean? Like with 100 schools?
Yeah. Yeah, get 100 school contracts. So get 100 schools to do school pitches for 100 schools. You could sell the business for $1 million. No problem. LifeTouch would buy it.
Okay.
I didn't. I didn't. That was my goal. But it was that mindset like, wow, what a vision. Let's have a vision. Like, let's get 100 schools. Let's get 100 signed contracts because that's where the valuation comes in your business. Because now these contracts are worth 2 or 3 years. We were the contracted photographer, right? So it had evaluation. It had signed contracts. That's where the business came in. That's where the value came in. That's where systems and processes came in, where we could train people to take photos exactly the same way each time, right? That's where looks like a franchise. You go to Starbucks, it tastes the same wherever you go, right? Because they got a system in place to do exactly ABC. That's where I was going at the time. But then I had a little carrot swiveled in front of me from HBO to say, hey, we have multiple locations around the country to work on Games of Thrones and other TV shows and everything else. And I said, wow, that's really cool. I'd rather do that. End up selling at not $1 million, but I sold what I had, 25 accounts. And I did end up selling it because it was a good decision. And I went on the road with HBO and they were just a client and worked for them. And obviously, and we had multiple contracts, but it was facilitating multiple locations that HBO only had to deal with one photographer for who I'm sure they use other photographers around the world. I'm not saying I was the only one, but I had my niche, I had my people, right? And that they could make one phone call and I could arrange a shoot for 40 locations, doing the exact same thing everywhere. Right?
Okay, so it's not as much you as a one-man show going out and doing the stuff that they want. From doing the school photography, you then had a team. So did you use a lot of those people and just no more schools? Hey, we're in the big leagues now. We're going to go for HBO.
See, this is where I try to help photographers. Don't do what I did, do what I say, right? So I didn't have a vision. Things just it was organized chaos. And I have to be honest with you, did I ever get up and say, hey, I want to go to the White House. I want to do HBO I didn't. Those words never really came out of my mouth. Honestly, it just kind of happened. And so when things just kind of happen and kind of blow up, it's kind of like when somebody wins the lottery, the chances of them going bankrupt are pretty high.
Okay.
It is. It's true fact, right? It's really true story. So it's like, are you prepared to grow? Can you handle it? A lot of reality stars, right? Videos that go viral and they fizzle out, right? They're not supported, or we don't know the backstory, but are they actually making money? Did they go bankrupt, right? So how do you support yourself? Are you anticipating to grow into $1 million company? If that's the case, that's a different conversation, how I can help you, right? That's an okay thing. Or do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell the business? Or do you want to keep it as a lifestyle business? And honestly, doing $250,000 a year in a photography business, you're making more money than doing $1 million, honestly. Just less overhead. You're at a certain point in your life, a certain point in business where if my younger self could talk to me, these are some of the questions I would ask to position myself so that I could prepare for that. Right.
Okay. So you don't recommend having a really, really big team, you said.
Not really. I got to be honest, unless you like really a big thinker and you want to go 30 million, which there are companies out there that are doing that. I'm not saying no, but from being there, hey, listen, it was great. Yeah. It was organized chaos. I wrote a few books about it. I'm here to tell a story. Yeah, it was different times, but those times are still out there for the next generation. Okay. I just would have done it differently. And I think you can enjoy the experience a lot more than knowing that here's my plan. I want to grow a $250,000 business and I want to run it with 30% profit margins. If you got that figured out and you really dialed that in, you could have a great living and have a photography business to last a lifetime, honestly.
Okay. So what is your ideal photography business? Like if a student came to you, it's like, I really want to do this full time and I want to make decent money and I just, this is my passion. Like, how would you set them up? What would be the ideal, like, who's their customer? What would they be doing? How many people would they have under them? Would they have an editor? Would they have a second shooter? Like, what would it look like?
Well, that's a great question, right? So as a good coach, you kind of get that you get them to tell you that. Good therapists get that person to tell you that, right? So it's a matter of like, I mean, for me, I mean, honestly, I've gone through a lot. I lost a lot. I made a lot, you know. It depends where I see the passion, right? That camera focus or that artist focus. And if you can see something that like their voice goes up, they're all in on this one thing that gets my attention. And I'm going to probably dial more into that because if you're like me and I was obviously very camera focused, and if I had my camera, I could do anything, right? And that was me. Everybody's different. But what's that one thing that really you're just so good at? You all in on it. That's awesome. And like blow that up. And all the other stuff, the accounting and the bookkeeping, get somebody else to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Okay. What will be yours though? Like what's your kind of favorite niche? Is it working for the big brands? You said you had the New England Patriots. What exactly do you do with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, what would I do? You know, to ask you first question, what would I do? Where would I want to be? I'm actually exactly where I want to be. And I've been doing this for 10 to 15 years. And that's how I grew the business this far to have over $4.2 million in evaluations and signed contracts at the time, is because I knew that I could find somebody, I could inspire somebody and have good leadership, that we could have 50 to 60, 70 people around the country do this one thing that we needed to do. And that's what I enjoyed. That's really what I enjoyed, looking for the 52 people that we had. And I would meet every single one of them around the country. And I enjoyed that part. And that's what I like doing. And after I lost it all after 2020, it took me a while to figure out, like, to your exact question, what do I actually like doing? What am I good at? What am I really good at? Right. And these are some of the questions I ask people that come to me. And what I was really good at was helping photographers see a bigger vision. That's why they wanted to work with me. They were excited about the vision. I would paint that vision. And now I have a bigger mission today than I did then, because now I can have 1 million photographers from around the world. I don't have to just help 52 people, right? I mean, I have the capacity to do that. The more podcasts I do, I get my word out. Tell 10 people, you tell 100 people, right? And I'm here to say that let's create a business that can last a lifetime. And I believe in it. And how do you do that? What do you need to do? What are you really good at? Right? And it's not how we do it, it's who.
Okay. It's not how we do it, it's who. So that would be my second question, because I coach muralists and I know how to tell them to get jobs as a muralist. There's apps you can sign up for. There's social media, there's outreach, there's networking in person. And is it pretty much the same as a photographer? What's your number one tip for marketing if somebody wanted to work with brands as a photographer?
It's going to take an unconventional way to get there.
Okay.
You're like, okay, Scott, tell me more. Say, Scott, tell me more. Right? Here's an example. And this happened to me multiple times. How I got into the White House was I started with the Easter Bunny. I did the Easter egg roll as an event. And the Easter egg roll has been going on for like 250 years or something like that, right? It's a big event for the White House. So I got in doing Easter Bunny photos.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Now, I'm going to say, I can guarantee you, anybody listen to this show, anybody waking up this morning and they want to be a photographer, maybe they want to go to the White House, I can almost guarantee you they have not said, hey, let me start off with the Easter Bunny. Said to absolutely nobody, right? I call that an unconventional way, right? And it's like, what is those unconventional ways that is very different than everybody else? If you're looking on social media, don't, right? Be unique, be yourself, because that's where it's at, is being really unique and different. And I never really sold photography, which is a really good secret, right? I didn't sell photography. I sold the vision of what's going to happen once we have all this project done. Here's what's going to happen. Everybody here is going to get a printed 8x10 photo looking like they're on the magazine of Sports Illustrated in a beautiful folder. And everybody's going to go to their office and they're going to hang it up in their office. And that's what we're going to create, right?
Okay. Okay. Can you give us another example of how that's happened? How you maybe a unique way you've gotten a job or you've done a small job that has led to a bigger job?
I was doing an event and, I started off, a lot of people do, free events and like, hey, there's a good opportunity
Yes.
there, right? And I'm all for that. I'm not for doing free work because more free work is rewarded by more free work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you want to volunteer, and I've done that too, all in, and I do, and I will continue to do that. There's a difference, but there's also a difference when you're starting out, like to work on different things to get in the door, right? So if you can get into a big event at City Hall or some public event where there's going to be a lot of people, take that advantage. But here's the secret. Don't pass out cards, collect cards, collect the business cards, collect the information. Don't pass it out. And the reason being, I'll share a story with you. Many years ago, I did that. I was doing the free event and some guy walked up to me. I was in Boston and he goes, hey, I'll play the Boston accent as much as I can, even though I'm from Boston. And the guy came, I was in downtown Boston and he goes, hey, Scotty, yeah, you do this? I said, yeah. He said, oh, nice to meet you. He said, my name's Tony. I said, hey, hi, Tony, how are you? And he goes, here's my card. You call me tomorrow. Okay. I collected his card, did my event, didn't think anything of it. Didn't take his photo. He just kind of left. But the strong Boston accent, just like, I couldn't forget him, right? So the next day, I took the card out of my pocket and I looked and it said his name and he was from City Hall. And I call him up. I'm like, hi, Tony, it's Scott. He goes, oh, yeah. Hey, Scotty. Yeah, I was talking to Tom Menino. He was mayor of Boston at the time. He goes, we were looking for a photographer to do Santa Claus photos. Can you do that? I said, yeah, I'll do that. He goes, yeah, the mayor wants to talk to you. Can you come down to the office tomorrow? Sure. I'll be there, Tony. No problem. And the next day I was in the mayor's office in Boston working to do Santa Claus events for the downtown city of Boston, which led to a career that you could never imagined, which really led me to the $4 million in business because I had 10 locations around the country doing Santa Claus photos.
No way.
Like what you see in the mall. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So we've done school photos, Santa Claus photos, the Easter egg hunt. Like okay. You're like, I don't care. I'll do it. I think that's
well, what's the common denominator? Kids.
Okay.
School pictures. We're doing kids. Parents bought those. So we got a system in place to take photos, had long-term contracts for a business. We knew if we got a school, we get a 2-3 year contract out of it. We had evaluation. And we knew that if it was a system. If I just follow the system, we could hire anybody as long as they follow the system. Boom, check the mark, right? Good. We can grow the business. All right. Easter egg. Well, that kind of led to the Santa Claus thing. No doubt. Right. Ish. But that's where the Santa Claus came in from doing the school pictures and the kids, that we kind of knew how to handle the kids and we had a little process in place to do that. So it was like, hey, we can do Santa Claus photos and have these signed contracts all around the country. And like, where are these events happening? Where are they? Not just malls. There's other places all around the country today that are planning Christmas events for Christmas. And they need this, Santa Claus and photos, and they want that photo of the kids, a good photo, right? Of kids and the families and family photos with Santa Claus. And when you can land that contract, that account, and do a 2-3 year deal, there's businesses evaluation. That one account could be worth $20,000 to do that event for that season. 2, 4, 6, that's an $80,000 account, lifetime value, if not more. It all added up to how can we create a business in photography? And these were some of the things that I did that created that business, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you have all these people working under you. What is your guys' form of communication? Like, do you have like a group chat going on, or like how are you communicating with all of these people?
Yeah, we had text. We had a group text.
Really?
Yeah, we had a group text.
That simple.
Yeah, we did a group text and we actually we can name the tags and, the group tags. And we'd have Team Santa, Team Elf for different people, different groups. And we just did a text message.
Okay. How are you finding the people to hire?
Well, this is pre-COVID. Not that there's actually more people to find than it was pre-COVID. I got to be honest with you. We're using apps, just like some of the ones that are out there, to find people around the country.
Apps like Instagram or?
No, we're using
like LinkedIn.
No, no, no. Like some of the photo apps that were out there. I forget some of them that are no longer around anymore. Like, there's a lot of them that are out.
Okay.
There's Bark out today. It's kind of like the modern day Bark. Bark is a site that you can bid to get work, just like an ad. You can run an ad and spend ad dollars, and people will call you for photography work. Yeah, check it out. Bark.com.
Bark.com. Okay. Are you running ads on Bark? Or are you running ads on social media?
No. Right now, that was my former life.
Okay.
So my current life is, I help photographers and creators and business owners to create a profitable business.
Okay. So other than doing the unconventional way, so of getting in, what do you think
right?
is?
You like that? That's
I love
cool.
it. What is one of your other top marketing tips that how people would get jobs?
You know what? Actually, what's really interesting is if you listen to the show, you're like, how can I get jobs? How can I get jobs? Right? It's actually not going to take much to beat out your competitor. Let me say that again. If you're a photographer and you want to get work, it's not going to take much to beat out your competitor.
Why?
Here's why. Most people don't make sales calls.
Okay. It's true.
They don't do the follow-up.
Yeah.
They don't do the follow-up. They're great photographers. They're amazing. But to pick up the phone and make sales calls and keep track of the calls and do the follow-up and do the proposals, land the deals, they're not doing. Most are not.
Okay. Who?
Like a lot. A lot are not.
Who are you reaching out to make these calls to? So like as muralists, we reach out to schools and places like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the same?
Yeah, exactly what I did, right? Schools was great. I mean, that was how can we organize that to create a contract out of that school, right? Create a business out of that. Lock that business up. That's how businesses are ran. You get your self-servicing, like, oh, you got to sign a 2-year term to stay with AT&T to get the discount, right? And then you sign away and you got a 2-year term with your cell phone, right? Same deal.
What does your initial contact email or call look like? Did you call more than you emailed, or?
I walked in.
You walked in, so you would walk in.
Yeah, just walk in. Yeah, just walk in.
Local business and say, hey, I'm a photographer. Do you guys need photography for your events or your website or things like that?
Yeah, I kind of change it around. Most people would say no if I did that. Hey, do you need a photographer? Nope. Get out of here. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of change it. There's a lot of things, sales kind of persuasion, right? Most of the time let's say a car dealership. Want to do headshots for a car dealership? Walk into the car dealership and say, hey, I noticed I was on your website and I saw the sales team's photos. Do you know who runs that? Because I noticed that you probably already know that needs a major update. I mean, and you can kind of joke around and say, they kind of look like ex-criminals on those headshots. And they're probably going to agree with you because if you did your homework and how do you qualify a lead? Go to the website. Yep, they need headshots. They look like criminals. Yep, first person I'm going to go see and knock on the door. And that's my approach. It's like, do you know who might be working with and I say with tonality a little bit too, and questions. I was wondering if you could help me. I noticed I was on your website and the headshot photos of all the salespeople, like really didn't, pause and they're like, yeah, I know it's terrible, right? I know, so that's what I try to do. I try to help businesses with great headshots so these sales guys can get like more sales, right? They're going to be approachable. So we want to help the salespeople as much as possible. And we do that with a great headshot so they can promote themselves.
Love it. Okay.
So I just turned everything around. It's not about me. It's about them, right? So what's the problem I can solve? I can help you improve your website and hopefully you got your headshots look good that people come in here and they recognize the people that they did homework with. And you get more sales from it. I want to help you get more sales. I want to help the sales team get more sales. I want to help the sales team be approachable. And that's my role.
Yeah, you want to help them even just look more professional online. So
yeah, that's what we do. We're not photographers. We help people get more sales. We help people look more professional. We help people present better by the right pose and how they look, right? That's what we do.
Okay.
Not photographers.
So whenever you're doing your outreach, you're doing a little bit of homework first, and then just instead of saying, I'm a photographer, this is what I can do, you're putting it to them and saying, this is how I can help you, or this is how.
Exactly.
Love
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So you help photographers. How long have you been doing this?
Well, long time, at least 15 years. Yeah.
And then so you have a
Yeah.
book, and then you have, I assume, a program that they can join. So if any photographers are listening and they're like, I think I could use some help, then
Yeah. You can look me up on Instagram. It's my Scott Proposki on Instagram, camerafocus.com, which is the name of the book. I kind of run a laid back program. I know there's a lot of rock star coaches of all sorts of industries. I had the bigger businesses. And as I just confessed on the show earlier, like I would have, if I had to do it over again, I would have done a smaller business. And so I'm actually practicing when I'm preaching. And I only take, 20, 25 people at a time. If the program's full, it's full. And, because I know I don't want chaos and I really want to make sure that I can help you. Yeah. When you get a call with me, I'm not the sales guy. I'm the guy, right? And I'm interviewing you more than you're interviewing me because I want to make sure I can help you because I don't know if I can, right?
okay. So what would the perfect photographer be that would be on the sales call? Like who is your ideal person that you know that you can help?
I always say when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. So like if you're ready, and you got to be ready and you're open to listen, be coachable and show up, you got to do just great.
So what exactly do you
Yeah.
help them with? You help them like with their website, or you help them get customers? Do you help them with their technique? Just generally?
Yeah. General, the number one thing I'll say is I'll see somebody, I'm like, what's your offer? And they ramble on everything.
Yeah.
They really don't know what their offer is. They really don't know what they're selling. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to help you with your offer. What are you selling? Or if you meet somebody at a networking meeting and you go like this, somebody comes up to you and say, hey, Scott, hey, what do you do? And if I go, well, it's kind of complicated. See, what I used to do, forget it. Just stop there. Like you're gone. You forget the networking meeting. You're just not going to remember anything. Right. And so I'm going to help you. These are the first things we're going to do is so you can get work right away, right? If you tell me you're going to a networking meeting, okay, we're going to focus on that and make sure that when you show up at that next BNI meeting, that you have the right one-liner, that you're saying, hey, Scott, what do you do? And I stand up, I'm in my 30 seconds. I'm going to say, I help salespeople look great so they get more sales and make more money with headshots. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. So you help them figure out the direction that they're going, and then you just help them with that direction.
Yeah, right. Because everybody has a different direction, different approach. And that's what I look for, right?
Is your
That's what I'm looking
coaching
at.
more one-on-one?
Yes, as well as group. I think what's really important right now is community, right? Because information is free. We can get information on AI and say, I can grab anything. I want to know how to do a funnel. I can do AI. No, you absolutely can, right? But that's not where the value is. The value, what I'm seeing today is that community of other photographers on a level that they're at, right? Because you can meet photographers at all different stages. I'm bringing in the people that are all in that same stage. So the conversations are everybody's dealing with the same problems and issues, right? And so when you can talk to somebody that's on the other side of the country with different problems and issues, it's such a relief. It's like, oh, it's not just me.
Awesome.
It's such a relief. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that we have people like you to help other artists who don't think about the business side of it. And do you have anything else that you'd like to add before we move on from this?
No, I'm just going to say I hear this a lot, that people say, oh, AI's here, photography's dying, it's going to go away. Listen, I've been here. I've heard this through the film days, photography's, oh, there's going to be digital, the film photographers, we're screwed. Ain't going to happen. Well, no, that didn't happen. It got bigger. Oh, we got Polaroid cameras. They're going to print photos on site. They're going to take over the world. Well, yeah, no, that didn't happen. Hey, the iPhone's out and everybody's taking pictures of the iPhone. Well, no, still pro photographers out there, right? Hey, AI is going to take out the photographers. Well, after 3.5 decades of seeing the same thing, I'm going to say, no, it's going to stay here. It's going to evolve just like everything else. And last time I checked, Nikon stock and Canon stock is up. So I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of fear in a lot of a lot of the art industries with
everywhere,
but,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thought. Photography is not going anywhere. Don't think that, hey, I'm going to die in industry. Absolutely not. I never saw it so robust in my entire life than right now.
Yeah. for sure. And if you need help with it, check out Scott. So
there you go. Happy to
awesome.
help.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.